Chapter 4 Spiritual Ministration. Completion of Yoga Tapas. On the day following his attainment of Siddhi of the southern direction, the attainment of Dik Siddhi of all four directions by the Balayogi was celebrated by ceremoniously breaking 1008 coconuts in each direction. The ceremony commenced at 7 a.m. and was completed by midnight. When it was over, the Balayogi broke his mauna by melodiously chanting the Omkar Shabd. The next day at midnight, the Divine Guru again appeared. As the Balayogi had been observing mauna since 29th October 1953, he had only been able to converse with his Guru in sign language so far. Now that he had broken his mauna, he could converse with him more freely and easily. That apart, up to now, the Balayogi had been completely absorbed in his tapas, to the exclusion of everything else. Therefore, neither had any doubt arisen in his mind about the true identity of his Guru, nor had it ever crossed his mind to question him about it. As we had mentioned earlier, when the Divine Guru appeared before him on that fateful day of 7th August 1949, the Balayogi had taken him to be a Sadguru of the Jangam Devar sect, and he continued to hold on to this belief throughout these first 8 years of his tapas, i.e. up to May 1957, when he attained Dik Siddhi of all the four directions. But now a doubt arose in his mind as regards to the real identity of his Guru, and he proceeded to question him about it. Balayogi, who are you? What is your true identity? Divine Guru, don't you know who I am? Balayogi says, no, I don't. I am further perplexed by your behavior and your appearance. You suddenly materialize before me as if out of thin air, and just as suddenly you disappear again. That apart, in your features and to all other respects, you look exactly like Shankar Bhagavan. The only differences that I can see between you and Bhagavan are that Shankar Bhagavan has a snow-white complexion, whereas you are dark. And whereas there is tejas or luminosity emanating from Shankar Bhagavan, there is no such tejas emanating from you. I find this quite mystifying, and hence a doubt has arisen in my mind about your actual identity. Divine Guru said with an amused smile, after all that I have done for you, do you still have doubt? All right, I will clear your doubt after you complete the full 12 years of your Yoga Tapas. As there were still 4 years left for completion of the Yoga Tapas, the Divine Guru directed the Balayogi to do tapas for this remaining period, facing the east. He also told the Balayogi that from now on, he could start initiating aspirants into dhyana, and that he need not continue his present practice of remaining in samadhi for all the 24 hours. Just 12 hours a day would suffice. In accordance with the above directions of his Guru, the Balayogi now started adhering to the following daily routine. From 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. he did dhyana, during which period he was mostly in samadhi. From 4 p.m. to midnight he gave darshan to devotees. During this period, kirtan was also organized at the Dhyana Mandir. From midnight to 1 a.m. he attended to his ablutions and had his daily bath. From 1 to 3 a.m. he would rest. So far, the Balayogi had restricted his diet to consuming a measured quantity of milk once every day after his midnight bath. He now started partaking of a milk and fruit diet twice a day. Once at 3 a.m. before sitting for dhyana, and a second time at 4 p.m. when he got up from dhyana. As hitherto, the serpents continued to favor the Balayogi with their attention. One night during this period, a snake entered the Dhyana Mandir while the Balayogi was in samadhi, apparently through the water outlet, and bit him on the hand, tearing away a bit of the flesh in the process. The Balayogi only became aware of this when he got up from samadhi and found that his hand was bleeding profusely. However, he suffered no ill effects from this bite. From the earliest days of commencement of tapas, people used to come to Adivarapupeta in large numbers for the darshan of the Balayogi. And now that he had started giving public darshan, the stream became a flood, and an ever-increasing number of people started thronging the Dhyana Mandir for the daily darshan and kirtan. The Balayogi always derived special satisfaction from feeding people. Consequently, at his behest, mass feeding of the devotees and the poor was organized regularly every day on 24th January, Balayogi's birthday, on Mahashivratri, and on 7th August, the date of commencement of the tapas, and on many other occasions in between. Like the darshan and the kirtan, mass feeding had also become a regular feature of the activities surrounding the Balayogi from the very earliest days of his tapas. The tapas and spiritual ministration continued side by side for the next 3.5 years, and soon time turned the corner to the year 1961. On 7th August of this year, the Balayogi would complete the full 12 years of his Yoga Tapas. Siddhi of Yoga Tapas. From about January 1961, the Balayogi started losing inclination for even the very restricted diet of milk and fruit that he was having. First, the fruits were deleted, and then he reverted back to his original pure milk diet. And gradually, even this was reduced, and soon he had restricted himself to consuming an occasional glass of milk, often only after an interval of many days. On most days, he merely drank some water when he went to the well for his daily midnight bath, and apparently this seemed to suffice. At the same time, the period of samadhi began to increase again. Around the beginning of June 1961, the Balayogi became absorbed in continuous Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which lasted an unbroken for full 2 months, i.e., for the whole of June and July 1961. At midnight of the 1st of August 1961, the Divine Guru came and aroused the Balayogi from his deep Samadhi. When he saw that the Balayogi had returned to normal consciousness, the Divine Guru smiled and said, "You had a doubt about my true identity, didn't you? All right, now watch closely." As he said those words, a dazzling light like lightning flashed forth from the Guru's body, and instead of the dark-hued Jangam Deva, there stood before him the snow-white and bewitching form of his Ishtadev, Shankar Bhagavan. It was thus revealed to the Balayogi that his Guru had been none other than Shankar Bhagavan himself, who used to come and guide him in the guise of a Jangam Deva. Having cleared the Balayogi's doubt on this point, Shankar Bhagavan and Mother Parvati, who had been accompanying him, sat on the dhyana platform and began to converse affectionately with the Balayogi, whom they looked upon as their disciple and their child. Shankar Bhagavan told the Balayogi that his period of tapas was over and he was now free to roam at will and act as it pleased him. "You may go wherever you like and do whatever you wish to," said the Bhagavan. To this, the Balayogi replied that he had no wish to go anywhere nor do anything in particular. "Do you have a wish in mind?" Shambhu then inquired. "You may ask for anything and it shall be granted to you." Again the Balayogi replied that he desired nothing at all and that he would do whatever Shankar Bhagavan wanted him to do. Well pleased with this answer, Shankar Bhagavan complimented the Balayogi on his steadfastness in tapas, and then told him that henceforth his mission would be to rouse the dormant spirituality of the people in general, and to help sadhakas, aspirants who are struggling on the spiritual path to gain liberation from the yoke of samsara. To this end, he should travel around and give darshan to people. Such darshan would help in weaning them away from the materialistic to the spiritual path. He should initiate aspirants into the secret and mystic path of Dhyana Yoga and guide them so that they are able to gain liberation in this very life. He should give solace to those who grieved and heal those who suffered from myriad afflictions of the mind and the body. This process of healing would be effected by giving the sufferers sacred vibhuti, which would be blessed and consecrated by him for this purpose. Shankar Bhagavan then told the Balayogi that henceforth he should use the name Sivabalayogi. Bala is another name for Mother Parvati, so the name signified the Lord of Yogis devoted to Shiva and Parvati. Later, the Balayogi on his own changed the name given to him by Shiva to Sivabalayogi Maharaj, as he felt that the use of the title Yogeshwar in the name might be misunderstood by many to imply that he was being equated with Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. Finally, Shankar Bhagavan told his disciple that he would make him sit in tapas from time to time as the need arose in the future. Then, giving their blessings and bidding an affectionate farewell, Shankar and Bhavani disappeared. It is significant that Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj from that day started exhibiting in his own body the Ardhanarishwara Sarup, i.e., one half of his body showed the characteristics of a man, and the other half had many characteristics peculiar to a woman, thus signifying in his own person the union of Parvati and Parameshwara. As the day for completion of the Yuga Tapas of the Balayogi drew near, thousands of people began streaming into Adivarapuketa for the darshan of the yogi. By the morning of 7th August 1961, a vast crowd numbering well over 300,000 had assembled and in and around the Dhyana Mandir, and they waited in joyous expectation for the yogi to emerge. At 8 that morning, the Balayogi, or Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj as he was now named, marked the completion of the 12-year period of Yuga Tapas by chanting the Omkar Shabd in a melodious voice. The doors of the Dhyana Mandir were then thrown open, and he was escorted to a high wooden platform which had been constructed especially for this occasion. As he emerged from the Dhyana Mandir, a mighty roar went up from the assembled multitude. Unused as he was to walking and considerably weakened by the lack of nourishment during the 2-month-long samadhi, Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj had to be helped onto the darshan dais. Then, as the yogi came into the full view of the vast assembly, thunderous cheering broke out, and the countryside reverberated with ecstatic Jai Jaikars that issued from the 300,000 throats. The adoration of his devotees nearly sent the yogi into samadhi again, and he had to be literally held up to prevent him from falling. Standing there with his eyes closed in a semi-conscious state of spiritual ecstasy, Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj silently showered his blessings on the people who had assembled for his darshan. As the crowd pushed and jostled to get a closer view of the Mahatma, they saw standing before them a yogi whose body, though emaciated and deformed by the rigors of his intense tapas, nevertheless shone with a strange lustre and visibly exuded peace and spiritual grace. The point of digression: the term Ardhanarishwara means half god, half goddess form. This is one of the forms of Shankar, in which one half of his body appears as Shiva and the other half as Parvati. This form signifies the union of Parvati and Parameshwar, i.e., the Supreme Lord and his Shakti. Continuing, the establishment of the Adi Ashram. After the completion of the Yuga Tapas, Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj felt no immediate inclination to go anywhere, and he continued to reside for the time being at Adivarapuketa. The work of spiritual ministration, which had commenced immediately after the yogi attained Diksiddhi of the Four Directions in May 1957, now acquired added impetus as people began coming for the yogi's darshan in ever-increasing numbers. A need was soon felt to organize a proper ashram, so the area surrounding the Dhyana Mandir was acquired. A compound wall built, and thus a regular ashram came into being. This is now the Adi Ashram of the Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj Trust. An ashram committee was also formed, which was made responsible for organizing the daily darshan, kirtan, dhyana diksha and other ashram activities. The propitiating of Raktakali. On 19th January 1962, a family from Rajamundry came for the darshan of Sri Swamiji. They brought along with them their teenage daughter, aged about 18 years, who appeared to be in a trance-like state. The parents explained to Sri Swamiji that their daughter was an ardent devotee of Mother Kali, and that lately she had been keeping upvas, or total abstention from food, as a part of her worship of the mother. A day or so earlier, the girl suddenly went into trance and started asking for blood to quench her thirst. Naturally, the strange behavior of their daughter frightened the parents, and so they brought the girl to Sri Swamiji. While the parents were explaining all this to Sri Swamiji, the girl sat quietly, reclining against the wall, at the back. All of a sudden, like one jolted by an electric current, the girl was jerked into an erect posture. Like like one possessed, she started grinding her teeth in a violent and frightening manner and swinging her body from side to side. It was apparent from her behavior that she had lost her normal consciousness and had become totally unaware of her surroundings. As she obviously appeared to be possessed, a devotee sitting nearby asked her who she was. In a thundering voice, she replied, "I will not tell. Who are you?" When the devotee concerned announced his own identity, the girl stated that she was Somalamma, known as Shyamalamba of Rajamundri, that she had now come as Raktakali, that she would first devour herself and then kill the people of Adivarapupeta, including the Swamiji, then she would devastate the whole country. Only thus would her present consuming thirst for blood be satisfied. Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj, who had been watching and listening quietly all the while, now addressed Raktakali in the person of the girl. He assured her that he would give her all the blood she required to quench her thirst, so she should leave the devotees alone and come to him. He then extended his left arm for Raktakali to slake her thirst. With a vicious smile, Raktakali seized his arm and bit into the extended palm of his hand. Blood spurted out from the palm, and Raktakali began to suck it greedily as though she was tormented by an insatiable thirst. This blood drinking went on for almost 2 hours, and all this while Sri Swamiji quietly continued to converse with her. In reply to one of his questions, Raktakali said that his blood was sweet as nectar, and that she had quenched her thirst for the next 2000 years. Finally, Raktakali appeared satisfied and was pleased. She blessed Sri Swamiji, bestowed all her powers on him, and took her leave. Immediately after this, the girl became her normal self again. Sthapana of Shivalinga. At the behest of the devotees, Sri Swamiji agreed to install a Shivalinga and an icon of Mother Parvati in the Dhyana Mandir to commemorate according to religious tradition the place where he had done his tapasya. Soon after this decision was taken, a beautiful Shivalinga appeared before Sri Swamiji in his dhyan. It was simultaneously revealed to him that this was the Shivalinga meant for installation in the Dhyana Mandir, and that it would be found in the Narmada river near the Sangam, or confluence that adjoins the famous Omkareshwar temple. On the basis of this revelation, Sri Swamiji briefed 2 devotees, Gauri Shankar and Satyanarayan Reddy, on how and where to find the Shivalinga, and dispatched them to the Narmada river with instructions to locate the Shivalinga and bring it back with them. In spite of an intense search, these devotees could not find a Shivalinga conforming to the description given by Sri Swamiji, and so they were compelled to return empty-handed. When these devotees failed to find the Shivalinga, Sri Swamiji summoned Sadhu Narayan Das, an initiated disciple of Tapasviji Maharaj. He gave him an exact description of the Shivalinga, and this time, in order to ensure that Narayan Das would succeed in his mission, Sri Swamiji instructed him to sit in dhyana on the banks of the Narmada opposite the Sangam, near the Omkareshwar temple. Sri Swamiji assured Narayan Das that the location of the Shivalinga would be revealed to him in his dhyana. With high hopes, Sadhu Narayan Das left for the Narmada river as instructed by Sri Swamiji, sat in dhyana at the place he had indicated. Though he continued to sit thus for 20 days running, no revelation came, and he felt thoroughly dejected at the thought of having to go back without accomplishing his task. Rather than return empty-handed, he decided he would select a Shivalinga of his own choice and take it along as he went back. Looking around, he soon found a beautiful Shivalinga with a natural luster emanating from it, and so he picked it up to take back with him as a substitute for the one he failed to find. Though Sadhu Narayan Das was somewhat consoled at having found a good substitute, Shivalinga, the thought that he had failed to find the Shivalinga described by Sri Swamiji continued to weigh on his mind. This made him sad at heart. One night before he was due to leave, Sadhu Narayan Das felt restless and unhappy, so he strolled to the across to the spot where he had sat in dhyana all those days. The thought of his failure continued to press his mind, and he sat staring out at the river in a disconsolate mood. As he watched the dark waters of the river tumbling and gurgling past, his mind soon became calm and peaceful, and he went into deep dhyan. Suddenly, he had a vision of the Jyoti, or light, and he felt that the Jyoti was emerging from within him and lighting up the whole area around. Startled by this vision, he opened his eyes and saw that a ray of brilliant light was actually emanating from his forehead and was being beamed toward the center of the river. Looking along this beam of light, Sadhu Narayan Das saw to his joy and wonder that the light was playing upon a beautiful Shivalinga that was bobbing up and down the water in the center of the river, reflecting back brilliant hues of silver and gold. With a throbbing heart, Sadhu Narayan Das waded out to the river, and though the Shivalinga was rather heavy, under normal circumstances at least 2 or 3 men were required to lift it. He found no difficulty in picking it up and bringing it out. Next day, with a joyful heart, he left for Adivarapupeta with both the Shivalingas. The sacred Shivalinga revealed to Sri Swamiji in his dhyana and found by Sadhu Narayan in his mysterious elevating circumstances, was installed by Sri Swamiji in the Dhyana Mandir on Mahashivaratri of 1962, 25th February 1962. He consecrated the lingam by the power of his tapas, thus making it an awakened and living manifestation of the great god Shiva. This Swayambhu Linga, self-manifested Linga, also known as Atma Linga, had a silver sheen on one side and a golden sheen on the other. The silvery coloring is representative of the snow-white complexion of Shiva, and the golden coloring is representative of the golden complexion of Mother Parvati. Thus, the Shivalinga exhibits the Ardhanarishwara Swarup of Shankar Bhagavan. Installation of Parvati Murti. While the search for the Shivalinga was going on, an icon of Mother Parvati, which had been specially commissioned for the Adivarapupeta ashram, was being sculptured in Mysore. The installation ceremony of this Murti statue was scheduled to take place immediately after the Stapana of the Shivalinga on 25th February 1962, i.e. Mahashivaratri night. On the night of 24th February 1962, i.e. the night previous to the installation, Sri Swamiji was sitting along in the Dhyana Mandir when Bhavani, another name for Parvati, appeared before him and demanded that two blood sacrifices be performed to propitiate her during the installation ceremony. But Sri Swamiji promptly refused. Reverently, though firmly, he informed the mother that a blood sacrifice was not acceptable to him, and hence no blood sacrifice would be performed within the precincts of the ashram. At this, Mother Bhavani simply smiled and vanished. As subsequent events will show, the mother was determined to have her own way in spite of the objections of her recalcitrant son. On the day of the installation ceremony, i.e. Mahashivaratri day of 1962, people began arriving in Adivarapupeta from early morning onwards, and as the day wore on, a vast multitude had congregated at the ashram. At about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, a stout sadhu arrived with his party to witness the installation ceremony. Kirtan, or devotional singing, was going on at the time, and a large number of devotees lost to the outer world in Bhava Samadhi were dancing ecstatically to the beat of the devotional music. The sadhu observed all this for some time, and then announced with a sneer to all who would care to listen that these people who were supposedly in Bhava Samadhi were in fact humbugs and were faking this condition to attract attention to themselves. To prove his point more emphatically, the sadhu struck the man nearest to him with one of his wooden sandals. By this somewhat drastic action, the sadhu hoped to deflate the person and thereby expose what he assumed to be mere pretense on his part. Unfortunately for the sadhu, the man he struck happened to be Hanuman in Hanuman Bhava. This man immediately snatched the same wooden sandal from the sadhu's hand and retaliated by striking the sadhu a resounding crack on the head with such tremendous force that the sadhu's head split open and he fell unconscious to the ground. This caused an immediate commotion as people crowded around to see what had happened. The sadhu was somehow extricated from the crowd and carried in that unconscious state to Sri Swamiji. Blood was pouring from the sadhu's head in a copious stream, and as soon as Swamiji saw the sadhu, he recalled Bhavani's demand for blood sacrifice. He was rather upset and remonstrated with the mother, saying, "I told you there should be no blood sacrifice in the ashram, and now look what you have done." Sri Swamiji then liberally applied consecrated vibhuti to the wound, tightly bound up the sadhu's head. This saved the sadhu's life, and after some time he regained consciousness. Later that night, as Sri Swamiji sat alone in the Dhyana Mandir, Bhavani appeared again before him and told him to say that she was told him that she was thirsty and that she wanted blood to quench her thirst. Haven't you had enough?" asked Sri Swamiji. "See how much blood that poor man lost." "No," said Bhavani, "only half my thirst has been quenched. I want more blood." "In that case," said Sri Swamiji, "I will give all the blood you want. Please leave the devotee alone." He then extended his left hand. Bhavani bit into the left forearm and with great relish started sucking the blood that began to flow out. Immediately as it approached midnight, Sri Swamiji requested Bhavani to let him go, as the time for the installation ceremonies was approaching. Thereupon, Bhavani smiled, and blessing her yogi son, she disappeared. The unique and mysterious circumstances attendant on the installation of the Shivalinga and the Murti of Mother Parvati, which have been related above, are a clear proof that Shankara Bhagavan and Bhavani are manifest in the Dhyana Mandir as living presences. Therefore, to obtain darshan of the Dhyana Mandir and the deities installed therein is in itself a great blessing.